I will be talking to you about the primary afferent nerve cell, hereinafter referred to as the cell. The cell is a very sensitive nerve cell, located at the base of each whisker of a cat. The cells are set as a part of the skin cells, sort of like a layer of skin. As you can see, the nerve cells are located in between two layers of skin cells. There are 200 cells at the base of each whisker. That is more than the number of countries in the world. The whiskers of a cat are sensitive to perform specific functions. The three functions are measuring an opening, navigating through dark rooms, and indicating mood. Since a cat's whiskers are roughly as wide as its body, it can be used as a sort of natural ruler to judge whether or not it will fit through an opening. You usually see a cat stick its head into an opening before going through it, and this is to measure the opening. Also, a cat has no collarbone or clavicle, so this contributes to its ability to twist and turn its way through an opening. The second function is navigating through dark rooms. This can be especially helpful at night when there is no natural light. A cat's ability to navigate is also helped by the fact that it has outstanding night vision. A cat can actually detect the slightest change in air current or breeze with its whiskers, and it will use that information to navigate around obstacles. When there is an obstacle, such as a table, the air currents change only around that obstacle, and the cat is able to sense that change in air current and navigate around it. The third function is indicating mood. When a cat's whiskers are pulled back, it is feeling angry or defensive. When a cat's whiskers are relaxed and pushed forward, it is feeling happy, content, or curious. The cell is different from other nerve cells because it is afferent as opposed to efferent. Afferent nerve cells send information from a sensory organ to the brain, whereas efferent nerve cells send information from the brain to a sensory organ. The cell sends this information through a very intricate process, which I will only explain the basics of. Essentially, a stimulus triggers an electrical discharge, which produces an electrical charge of approximately 50 to 70 millivolts. This charge is called an action potential. The action potential then travels through the transmitter part of the cell, called the axon, and once it reaches the end of the axon, or the axon terminal bundle, it is transmitted to another nerve cell. This process is repeated again and again, until the nerve cells have communicated with the brain. The action potential of the previous cell provides the stimulus for the next cell to begin its reaction. This is how afferent nerve cells are able to communicate with each other and send information to the brain, and it takes approximately 5 to 7 milliseconds for this to happen. Did you know that the cell is also present in humans? And it plays a similar role as the role it plays in cats. It is a nerve cell that sends information from a sensory organ to the brain, and it is what allows us to touch things. And it is also what allows us to feel pain. Each part of the nerve named primary afferent nerve cell came from a different Latin word. Primary came from the word primus, meaning first. Afferent came from the word affer, meaning to bring. Nerve came from the word nervus, meaning, can you guess it? Nerve. Cell came from the word cella, meaning storeroom or chamber. It seems like all of our words came from a Latin word. For instance, even the word word originated from the root verbum, meaning word. Then it became the Germanic word wort. There are many of the same organelles in the cell as there are in other eukaryotic cells. The cell contains a nucleus, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticula, a Golgi apparatus, a cytoskeletal element, and mitochondrion. The nucleus contains all of the genetic information of the cell, the DNA and the RNA. Ribosomes are structures which assemble proteins based on your genetic code, using a type of RNA called messenger RNA. Endoplasmic reticula are folds which are continuations of the nuclear membrane, and some of these folds have ribosomes stuck to them. The Golgi apparatus organizes assembled proteins and transports them to other parts of the cell. The cytoskeletal element provides structure for the cell and helps with movement. Mitochondrion make ATP, the energy unit of the cell, through the process of cellular respiration. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Who came up with those names anyway? There are 4 parts of the cell: a cell body, also called a soma, dendrites, an axon, and an axon terminal. However, the cell is different from other nerve cells because its cell body is held on by an individual strand of the axon, as opposed to being the central structure of a nerve cell. Also, the dendrites are on one branch of the axon, and the axon terminal is on another. In most nerve cells, the dendrites and the axon are branched off the cell body, and the axon terminal is at the end of the axon. But enough about location of all of these parts. Let's get to what they do. The cell body contains all of the organelles necessary to keep the cell alive. It also contains the nucleus, which, as you know, stores the genetic information of the cell. The dendrites are branch-like projections of the cell, which receive information from other nerve cells. The axon is responsible for carrying the signal to the axon terminal, where it is then transmitted to the next cell. I thought learning about primary afferent nerve cells was very interesting because cats are likely my favorite animals. I was able to expand my knowledge of cats. Now I am able to understand why a cat's whiskers need to be so sensitive. It is a cell that is vital to a cat, used for measuring and opening, navigation, and mood indication. The primary afferent nerve cell of a cat is an intricate cell, which made learning about it very interesting.